Welcome to T Boys TV. We are back again with another Hat Show, obviously episode 295. And in this one, obviously, we'll get your thoughts, Dad, on the two bits of transfer news that's come out so far. And then obviously, we'll get into the game tomorrow, which for me, and I know you're the same, Dad, obviously, to talking just before we went on, is a must win, really, because it's going to get to a stage otherwise, if we don't win, where we're going to keep there's going to be gaps. The gaps are going to get bigger and bigger, and you need to get the results now, and especially against these lot. I mean, if there's a game you want to win, obviously it's not for us as Luton fans. It's not as big for us as it is for them. Obviously, our main rivals Watford, but it's still a game we want to win. Especially after the last game against them, it was not good. Obviously, Bloomfield's last game, and yeah, we really need to do it over them. So yeah. Obviously, we'll get into that. But yeah, before we get into anything, Dad, how have you been this last week or so?
Yeah, all good, mate. Just getting back into the swing of things, you know what I mean? New Year and all that. But yeah, all good, man.
Yeah, and obviously the last time we was on, we was meant to play Doncaster. Obviously, it did get called off. And if I'm going to be totally honest, I was sort of happy it did. As much as their form was awful, obviously we had that last dreadful away game, and it was a few days later. And I think the fact now, obviously we've been able to just fully focus on this game helps, especially the type of game it is. Like take away, the local rivalry. Like the fact we have to win for me, we can't be drawing. We have to win this game. We need to be applying the pressure we've applied in the last two games, home games, I'm referring to, for me, that type of, getting in their faces and things like that. So, yeah, obviously, like I say, we'll get into that. But yeah, in terms of the signing stud, obviously there's been one outgoing, one incoming so far. We'll talk on obviously Nordos going out first. Now, inevitable, really, wasn't it, Dad?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's bits of his game that I thought were good. He did score a couple of goals in the cup and that. You know, we've seen a lot of players over the years. I thought, yeah, he's only young. He's got some potential. But obviously, it's been told that, there's players ahead of him, etc., etc. Apparently, there's interest from Wrexham and Sheffield Wednesday. But he wants to go to Holland. And it's a loan. It's a loan deal. So it's not obviously a permanent transfer. There doesn't seem to be any obligation to buy. It's a bit of if he enjoys it out there, and we're not looking to get him back, then the move probably become permanent. But listen, it is what it is. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, the team itself, they were actually meant to play. I think it was the day they signed him. He probably wouldn't have been in the squad, but he got called off like a lot of games last weekend due to the pitches, actually. But actually, where he's went, to be fair to him, obviously, I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about him, but looking at where they are in the league, they can actually qualify, like have an opportunity right now to qualify for the Conference League, which is decent. Obviously, it'd be good for him to try and help them get in there. And I think when the links with Wrexham come about, I was a little bit surprised because Wrexham have got a lot of experienced strikers for me. And it'd be a situation with him where I just don't think he would play. It'd be similar to it, really. He'd probably come off the bench there and things like that. But yeah, I mean, he could try and help them get a European spot, which would be pretty good. Obviously, they do compete with some decent teams. Obviously, Ajax, I know they're not quite the same team of what they have been. But there's obviously other good teams in that league as well, obviously Feyenoord and PSV, things like that. So yeah, it should be interesting. But yeah, the fact it is loan is interesting, and he put quite an interesting post on his Instagram actually when it happened. So he basically said like, "Thanks for the messages. Like, let's see what happens in the future." And it was like a bit of a pray. He put the praying emoji, so that was quite interesting. Like, I feel he does deserve a chance, but it's one of them as well where if we do actually, sort out our game and be a bit consistent and we do go up, I just don't think we'll get him. Like, we'll probably sell him again or like sell him permanently, shall I say, this time. But if we have a situation where we stay in the league, and the other strikers are still not kicking on, obviously Yates and Wells, then I think there's a good chance Nordos could be involved next year, possibly. But we shall see. what happens with that. Do get your thoughts in on that. And then the other thing that's happened, obviously it come out yesterday, but the club officially announced it today. Was obviously Lawrence from Man City has joined Luton on loan. Obviously a youngster. It's got a high ceiling according to a few City fans I've spoke to and things. I mean, it's another left-sided player. So when I look at that left side, like I said in the team we discussed it yesterday, obviously right now, even though he's not getting in the squad, you've got Ali there, you've obviously got Archer there, and now you've got Lawrence. So it's an interesting one. I mean, for me, like I said yesterday, you want to have two good players in every position for me. So I look at it and I feel probably, well, by the sounds of it, it's going to be Ali or Archer. Obviously, Lawrence is coming on loan. Obviously, quite hasn't played professionally. Yeah, obviously, closest you could say is the Virtue Trophy in terms of playing like senior men's teams. But yeah, I mean, this one's an interesting one because for me, a left side wasn't really a priority. But let's see what happens. Let's just hope it's better than the last couple of signings from Man City did.
Well, I think he could play. People may be focusing too much on that, but he can play as a striker and as a cam as well. I believe so. I've looked at a couple of clips and that, and he's sort of in that central role. So either as a striker or as a cam, I would say that he's been brought in for. We've got a lot of options on the left, and if we need to put him on the left, then we can put him on the left. But we've got lots. There's talk about him. He's only played fucking Premier League 2 football, a couple of Virtue Trophy rounds. He's young, but obviously he's well thought of. He's obviously got a bit of ability. To me, looks a little bit lightweight, but we'll see. And he's got to play men's football. That's so it's going to be interesting to see what we actually get. Obviously, we brought him on loan, so surely it stipulates that he's got to play a certain time, amount of games. So he's going to be in and around the squad for sure. Archer, I think, dessert for me, a little bit older. Has come up through from non-league, I think, but he's been plying his trade, albeit in League 2, but still the rough, the tumble, still more competitive, I would say, than the Premier League 2. Obviously, the quality might not be, do you know what I mean? But, the proper rawness of football, he's been doing that all season in a struggling team to begin with, but now sort of picked up. And if anyone's going to, and I think he can play in them 3 positions as well. If anyone should be in there, as well as this new signing, it should be him. I don't want to see Archer go back out on loan, which we talked briefly about before the show.
Yeah, no, there was some interesting comments from Wilshere. He basically said long story short, he said he's got 7 or 10 days to impress him. So the way I'm looking at it, he's obviously got to have a chance then. And a game in particular, I think he has to have a chance in, is on Tuesday night. Because obviously it's against League 2 opposition, which obviously he was playing obviously in. And, he was like, for me, like obviously I didn't watch Cheltenham week in, week out, but judging by how gutted the manager was to see him go and what a lot of their fans were saying, he was like one of their better players.
Plus,
so like,
didn't he score that banger? Was it?
Yeah,
him?
he did, yeah.
That was an. I don't know if you haven't seen that. Who is it against?
I can't remember who it's against, but yeah, it was a banging goal.
Just type Google it if you haven't seen it. Ethan Archer goal. It's like 30 yards out.
Yeah, I mean, new players to do that. I mean, a few players do it, but ultimately, it's not enough.
Yeah, even at league, like that was a goal. That was. So yeah.
Yeah, and with Lawrence as well, like you say, he can play on the right and he can play centrally. But yeah, what I've noticed a lot from the highlights, and again, you can't always judge anything on highlights, but just based on what I've seen, he does like to cut in from the left quite a lot. So I do expect him to be more on that left, especially with what Wilshere said as well, which I'll get into in this bit there. So he said, coming through the City system, he has an understanding of what is required from a winger at the top level and a lot of quality. This bit here, he can play through the middle or off either side, but he's more comfortable off the left, coming in on his right foot. So to me, that says we probably will play him more on that left side. Obviously, when he does play, obviously we've got to, you know, have a situation for me where we've obviously got to start him on the bench because of his lack of experience in terms of being, in front of a big crowd, like he mentioned in his interview. But City have obviously loaned him out as well to see what he's like in this type of environment as well. And yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But like I say, I'm just hoping he's better than the last two players we got from Man City, especially the last one. I thought he was rubbish. To be quite honest, I thought he'd done all right towards the end, Kabore, but ultimately, I always go back to that Aston Villa game and that Chelsea game. The Villa game, the goal-winning goal they got, he was not even goal marking him. And then obviously the Chelsea game, you give it straight to Cole Palmer, who was on top form that season. So yeah, hopefully it's a better one. But yeah, we shall see. But it's going to be interesting, like I say, that left hand side, what we do in terms of like who we're going to go with there going forward. Obviously, Bramall's another option. Obviously, we've wanted to play him higher up as well in recent games. So it's going to be interesting. But like I say, left side, especially up there, is not really where I thought we should have really got first. But let's see. Let's see if we can go elsewhere and get other players, and hopefully we do, because we for sure need that. But yeah, going into tomorrow's game, obviously take on Stevenage. Like I said, last time we played them, not great at all. And it's so annoying that last game because, despite us not really being great that day, we could have went 1-0 up, a few times in that game. Obviously, the first half we had a chance, a decent chance right at the start. I think it was Bramall maybe. And then obviously Nordos had a great chance as well, which I said at the time on the watch long, he probably should have done better, I've got to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because at that period, they obviously were doing really well at home. And they're not awful at home still, but obviously I went to a recent game in the away end, obviously, as you guys know, the Burton away end. And it was one of them games where it was pretty tight at the start. Obviously, Burton taking the lead, things like that. And then second half, Stevenage got 2 early goals. So I was thinking, oh no, Burton are probably going to get thumped now. But then they got an equaliser, and it was sort of out of nowhere. And from there on in, they could have won. They could have beat Stevenage. They should have got a red card, and that was at their own place. And I got to be honest, right? What annoys me, right? And I'll say it how it is, their fans, they'll only turn up for us, literally for us, right? That game, that day, they could have went second, and there was barely anyone there. Absolutely barely anyone there. It was shocking. Absolutely shocking. And another thing, they have audacity to moan about our prices. Yet for that game, they were charging 25 quid just for that game. So they can get in a bin with it when it comes to stuff like that. But in terms of away, I hate to say this, but they're actually doing really well away in the league. They're the third best side away. Obviously, a most recent memorable game they've had. And I remember we saw it and we were like, what? When we did the watch long was when they beat Stockport, they had 3-1 away. I mean, that was very unexpected to say. And then obviously they've got Jamie Reid, who's, he is experienced. He was scoring a lot of goals at the start of the season. He did score when I obviously was in the Burton away end as well. And yeah, by the sounds of it though, from what their fans, it's not really anyone else doing too much, in terms of the goal scoring. They are pretty good defensively. I think they might be like one of the best sides up there defensively, which, being honest, like watching the recent game they had, I don't know how. I've got to be honest, but then again, we're also up there, and you wouldn't think that with how we've been a lot defensively. So yeah, but they have dropped off a little bit, I would say. In terms of obviously not being in the playoff spots anymore. And yeah, like I've said, we need to approach this game like how we've approached the last two home games for me. And if there's a game you want to win, in this league, it's definitely that league, this game. And also the fact, like I say, we have to win. We can't be affording to draw this game because of the position we find ourselves in. Even with a win, we're still outside the playoffs. But then if you to drop more points, it's going to be even more points. And yes, I know teams are inconsistent in this league, but I've said it for weeks. I'm not looking at Cardiff, I'm not looking at Lincoln, and I'm not looking at Bradford. They're miles ahead of everyone for me. I'm looking at Stockport, Huddersfield, Stevenage, and Bolton. They're the teams I'm looking at. Obviously, when we play Lincoln, which is coming up, I'm obviously going to focus then. But in terms of the league positions, I'm not thinking we can get anywhere near them three teams. I'm looking at them other four teams, which we have got some decent results over, especially Huddersfield, obviously beating them. And obviously a draw against Bolton that we're very unlucky not to win, obviously beating Stockport. So now we need to beat Stevenage, also with the fact they are above us as well. So we need to sort of, show them why this is why we should be the better team for me. So that's how I see it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of this game, Dad, I mean, we've got to start right again, haven't we? Like the last two home games.
Yeah, our home record's picked up. We haven't lost in the last six. Scored more goals. Then it kind of blipped was that Port Vale game which we went to. But yeah, we've really got, this has got to be for the fans and as well. We've had some tricky games. They have beat us a couple of times over the years, but ultimately we've got the better, the edge, and we should have the edge. But we need to be. I want a performance. We ain't going to necessarily get it, but I want like the 7-1. Luke Berry got a hat trick. That season, we battered a lot of teams, but the performance needs to be there. They have got quite a good defence. They have dropped off a little bit. Won the same amount of games, and the main thing is they've got 2 games in hand over us, not necessarily win, but you know what I mean? And if we lose to them, 39, depends what happens with other results. We could be 5 points off, you know what I mean? And then going in there anyway, with 2 games in hand, you're just making it more difficult for yourself. This is, a sort of result that we need to be on, and especially considering the first game, that performance was utterly fucking pathetic. The worst I've seen against a rival team for a long time. Maybe the Watford game. But yeah, even when after I spoke to people who are not that much into football, and they said, "Oh yeah, Stevenage, yeah, they battered you, didn't?" I said, "No, they didn't batter us. It was 2-0, but they battered us in confidence, getting the ball. Do you know what I mean? And that's just not on. Like, fair play to the manager and that. But yeah, there's teams behind us. Mansfield have got a game in hand over us, but they're doing all right recently. Little teams seem to go on little runs. Even Burton, even the teams near the bottom, and we haven't had our run yet, really, not consistently, and that's what we need to go on. Because I think if you can go on a real good run, you can definitely shoot up that table and start dominating. Because that's how inconsistent the league is. Even the teams at the top, Cardiff will win, and then they'll draw, lose a couple. Lincoln for me, the team that are, doing really good, and Bradford as well. Considering they only got promoted last season, that is incredible. We knew they'd do well, but they lost 4 games out of 20.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I say I'm not looking at them teams. Like Bradford at home, they have had some weird results. Like, I think
we were moaning when we lost to them, but when you look back on it,
to be fair, I knew we weren't going to win that game. I just knew
back then, and they're still up there. Huddersfield have crept in there now, with the signings they got, and Stockport, Bolton, I just see them dropping off. Stevenage should be. We need to, we'll go above them as well. So, all makes sense. We need to, this is the game. Like I said, it's good that Doncaster got postponed, because I felt that as well. We need a little bit more time, get some positivity in the building. We've got a couple of signings, Archer is a new signing, and we ain't seen him. And the guy from Man City. And then, we'll see what happens next week. But, a bit of positivity, and we've got to be going for this.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree. But yeah, I mean, like, for example, like Huddersfield, like, in terms of like their business as well, like quickly, obviously we all thought in the summer they done obviously the best business. in terms of the league. And obviously, Castledine went, which was a big player for them. Obviously, scored that for their memorable free kick against us. And then obviously they'd replace him pretty soon as well. So, they're still going to be right up there. And I'll tell you what's going to be really interesting tomorrow. Obviously, our games are 12:30, and Stockport and Huddersfield are playing at the same time. And obviously, they're around us as well. So that's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. I mean, in terms of that game, what would we ideally want? I mean, looking at the table, obviously they're fourth, Huddersfield and so Stockport, but sorry, same points, but obviously Stockport sixth, Huddersfield fourth. Obviously, got a much better goal difference. Probably a winner. You probably want a winner in that game. And I know a lot of times people say, "Oh, you'd like the team to have a point each," but I think the fact they're on the same points, you probably want a winner in that game. Just so both of them don't gain something. Because obviously, like I say, even if we win, one of because this is the thing, right? If we won and one of them lost, we'd obviously be a point behind them. But if they both get a draw, there'll be 2 points ahead of us. So for me, that Huddersfield Stockport, I'd like a winner, to be honest. I don't mind who, because like I say, they're on the same points. But yeah, that's how I see that. In terms of that, and yeah, obviously, we do have a game in hand over Huddersfield. Yeah, so does Stockport, but it's all about getting them results. I don't really like saying this loads because you have to get the result. It's all well and good saying it. If you don't get a result, it doesn't matter. So yeah, let's go through some comments. So there is obviously some comments. Paul says, "Evening all, good to see you in here, Paul. Hope you're well." Jackie says, "Hi, Ty Daz. I think we'll win tomorrow. Hopefully we will win." Excuse me. G1 says, "Hi all. Who knows what sort of Luton will turn up? Maybe a tough watch. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised, mate. To be quite honest here." Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. Especially I've got to be honest, right? Obviously, it's been quite windy today, right? So we're expecting the wind tomorrow and all that. If we're playing long balls, I just don't think it'll work. I just think the ball's going to go in and flip in different direction. And the thing is, as well, especially with how many wingers we've got at the club currently, yeah, obviously some of them won't be selected, but Kadoa's going to go straight back in. That's obvious, given by what Wilshere said. And you are going to see Archer, whether he's on the bench or not, or even if you don't see Archer or obviously the Man City one start, which I don't expect, I'll be honest. For me, we'll probably have Bramall up there, and we know he can be direct. We've seen it, like the Bolton home game, for example, Stockport away, and he's good at getting the crosses in. 9 times out of 10, obviously, the Exeter game was not the best, but in terms of like overall, he can do that. So, yeah, we need to do that, especially with the one up front. It's not going to work. It's going to be Wells or Yates, and yeah, it's just not going to work. Just don't want to see it, because they'll just deal with it. I've got to be honest, they'll deal with it. They will. So, yeah, and they'll come to frustrate us. Even though like they are having their best EFL season ever, like they will come to frustrate us still. And I've seen a few of them, despite. Right now, judging on the league, I hate to say this, but obviously they are above us, so they are currently better. They are saying they would take a point. So I'm judging it on the fact that they will try and play frustrating at times as well. So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. We have to start off how we started in the last 2 home games for me. So, yeah, that's how I see it. But in terms of a lineup for this game, obviously I'll get into my lineup. So, yeah, this is the lineup I'd go with for this game. So Keeley in goal, it is going to be Keeley. Wilshere said he's back and available, so you're going to pick him for me. Even though I don't think Shea had the worst game against Exeter, I actually thought he was one of the players that can hold his head up high in that last game. It is going to be Keeley, and that's what I also think helps with a lot of these players. Like now they've had a week and a bit to get ready for this game and be available and get up to speed to feature basically. Walters on the right, I would go with Walters again. Like we said in the Exeter game, we thought he was the best player for us, so I feel he does deserve to play there again. Anderson's got to come in for me. in this game. I mean, he has been on decent form, and he wasn't obviously, playing in centre back last game, and I felt we could have done with him in times in that game. Mengi, he has to play. I know he didn't have the best of games, but we know he usually bounces back with a good performance. I would stick with Johnson there. And a large part of that is due to the fact, I don't expect Lawrence to come in. That would be crazy in terms of starting. And then, judging by what's been said about Archer today, I don't expect to see him start either, to be honest. But I expect to at least see them on the bench, if not one of them. So yeah, Johnson for me. I don't feel he's been the worst. I feel at times he was caught out a little bit in the last game, but in terms of going forward, which we need to do at home, we need to be, creating chances. I think he can be good at that because he was going through the middle centrally quite a lot in the Exeter game, and I thought he was doing some good stuff. The two, obviously, I've made it realistic with a formation that we are likely to go with as well. I have dropped Walsh. I thought he was awful. I thought he started off well, but I thought after the second half against Exeter, like I said, I thought he was poor, so I would actually drop him. I've put Saville in. I know some people don't rate him, but again, he gets told to pass it back, so that's just what he does. He shouldn't be there trying to feed the passes anyway. In this type of formation I've gone with, Lamine should be the one trying to do that because we've seen Lamine more attacking, throughout his time at Luton. So I've gone with them two. I've gone Kadoa on the right. I think that's self-explanatory. He's going to come straight back in. I have gone Bramall on the left. Again, large part of that goes down to what I've said about Archer and Lawrence. Clark through the middle. He has to play in this game without question. And then I actually think Wells is on slightly better form than Yates. Not by much, but I think Wells has slightly been more effective compared to the two. It's not drastically better, but I think it's slightly better. So, yeah, that is what I think for this game. Would you make any changes for this, Dad?
No, it's difficult, really. You got to kind of keep with the same team that's been performing relatively well over the last few home games. Although we're excited to see new signings and what happens and that, but yeah, you're probably right. They'll be on the bench, and yeah, you got to bring Keeley and Kadua back in for me as well. But yeah, to see who's on the bench. If any players are missing, like Mengi, not even, because there could be some of that as well, where they're being linked with other clubs and they don't want them to play. That does happen. But I think it might happen as well. So we'll see about that. But yeah, you got to go with that, really, the call. They've had a long break now. Rivals, early kickoff, whatever, at home, you've got that team should be able to perform.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I just think like Morris, for example, players like Morris and Walsh. Like, I think Morris has been good since he's come in, but the last game it just didn't work. And when you've got Kadoa there, you've got to play him there. And then, like I say, on that left side, obviously, by the sounds of it, Archer isn't going to start, and obviously you wouldn't expect Lawrence to. So I would actually stick with Bramall there. But and again, this is why I think it's beneficial, because if we were to play that Doncaster game, maybe we wouldn't see Johnson in this game or that game. But I think now, because we've had that, week or so break, we can play him and we can obviously have Keeley back in. Not that I think Shea was poor, like I say, I actually thought he was all right. But yeah, like, it's obviously the number one. So you expect him to obviously play in this game. But yeah, in terms of score prediction, Dad, revenge or repeat? What are we saying?
It's key. It's a key moment in the season for me. They always talk about moments in football, in matches, and then there's moments in the seasons as well. And I think if we don't win this game, yeah, there's still a lot of the season left, but I can't. It's one of them moments. We're not going to go up. We have to consolidate, but this is Luton, so we need to be beaten. They're under a little bit of pressure. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they'll be as cocky as they were at home. They're not cocky, but as confident. Sorry. you know, things have changed since then. We've got some dangerous players. You know, they've been struggling a little bit for goals a little bit. So yeah, I think we can do them. I think they will score though. But I'm going to go 3-1 Luton.
Well, I'd certainly take that. As for me, I do think if we don't win this game, I'm not hearing draws, I'm not hearing losses. I think the playoffs conversation's done because the gap's just going to get bigger and bigger. And if I'm going to be totally honest, would I even be confident with us finishing fifth or sixth going into the playoffs? Probably not, because them teams historically don't really win them. But yeah, we have to get revenge on them. We have to. Yes, they're good away from home. They're the third best side. Their defence is pretty good, but I think we have to play how we played in the last two home games in terms of that intensity, and I think we can beat them. I'm going to say it's going to be a tight game though, because you wouldn't think it, especially with our defence, but it is actually up there in terms of clean sheets throughout this season. So I'm going to say there's a 1-goal win for us, 1-0 to us in this game. That is my prediction. Do let us know what you guys think as well. And yeah, do you think if we don't win this game, it's done in terms of the playoffs thing? And also, we've got to that stage now. We're just over halfway through the season. We've played everyone now. So, this is the type of period where you get a basis of where your team's going to be in and around. And that's why I also look at them top three teams. We ain't getting near them for me. I don't think anyone else is getting near them, to be honest. So yeah, that's how I see it. Jackie's gone 2-1 to us. Kadoa and Clark to score our goals. Jackie says, I was going to go with 3-1, but changed my mind last minute. No worries at all. I mean, your goal scorers, Dad?
I'm going to go Clark, Johnson, and
Johnson.
Archer off the bench.
Oh, imagine that. That'd be a statement to say, yeah, I'm staying, basically. I feel if he has any impact, he got to keep him. You got to keep him, especially with that left-hand side. Obviously, Bramwell has done well there, but he is naturally a left back. So if we can get someone in that's doing that, Ali hasn't been in the squad. You got to be giving him a chance. But like I say, definitely got, for me, he's got to play on Tuesday against Swindon in that squad. But yeah, my goal scorer, I'm going to go Clark. I feel this is the type of game where he score. I believe when we played him last time, he wasn't in the squad. I think he was injured as well. So he's that type of guy. He knows what it's about. He'll step up for this game. You look at last year, probably our only good performance against Watford. Obviously, he scored in that. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird goal, but he still got involved. So yeah, I'm going to say Clark gets our goal in this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kadoa again, to be honest, because again, another player we missed against Exeter. So yeah, Jackie says I'm going to be freezing tomorrow, so hopefully a good game. Yeah, wrap up warm, because I'll tell you now that is going to be proper freezing. But yeah, in terms of my next game at home, it should be the Blackpool game actually, Jackie. So if you're still up for doing a fan cam, then that should be my next game if you are going to that game as well. But yeah, Paul says 3-1. So yeah, same as you, Dad. He agrees with you. And by the way, Jackie and Paul, obviously you guys know, but I'll tell you as well, Dad, they're top of the predictions so far. So they've been the most consistent out of the load of us. So yeah, big up to Steve, obviously West Ham fan. He says, good luck tomorrow, lads. Yep, big up to yourself, mate. Hopefully you guys can have a bit of a takeaway, I guess, from the Premier League and beat QPR. But I'll be honest, I do think it's going to be a difficult game. And we'll see. I mean, London Derby, I think they're bringing like 9,000 QPR.
Quite a lot.
Yeah. I know it's obviously still a London Derby, but still, like FA Cup, man, some of the numbers fans can bring is crazy. So, yeah, we shall see. But yeah, any final things, Dad, you want to say before we wrap up?
Nah, early kick-off. Let's get it done, and feel good for the rest of the weekend. Come on.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I can't remember many 12:30 kickoffs this year. At Peterborough, I remember that we won 2-0. But other than that, I mean, I might be completely. Oh, Lincoln That was the 12:30 actually, I think, and that was awful. So none of that. But yeah, we like I say, there is a bit of confidence from myself because the fact we are doing better at home. Obviously, not too long ago, I was saying about our shocking home form over the last few years, but we are picking up on that now, and I do feel more confident at home than away right now. So yeah, I do expect a tight game, like I say, but I'm just hoping we can win this game, man, because like I say, they're like that little brother that just won't shut up. And we need to be beating them. You know, this is their best EFL season, guys. And right now they're not even in the playoffs. So we need to show what we're about. We need to show what the Kenny's about. And if you are going, just be on it. Be on it from minute one. Because I think if there is a game this season we need to do it, it's that game. And I know the players have to, show stuff, and I've said that myself. But I think with this game, trust me, you won't hear the end of it if we lose. I mean, we didn't last time. So, yeah, that's how I see it. But yeah, in terms of content, obviously we've got the watch long tomorrow. So yeah, do tune into that, guys. Hopefully it's more positive one than last time. Oh, because that was just awful. And yeah, obviously there'll be a match reaction from myself as well. And then we'll do the Hut Show on Monday. Obviously talk about this game. And then preview the Swindon game briefly. And then obviously there should be a watch on to that as well. Obviously being on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. kickoff. So yeah, big up to everyone that's tuned into this. And yeah, hopefully see many of you tomorrow for either the watch on or the match reaction or both. So yeah, big up to everyone that's tuned in. Like I say, smash a like, subscribe, follow me across on my socials, subscribe to the extra channel. And yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow. So yeah, come on Luton. Let's get a flipping result. Otherwise, it's done and dusted. Take care. Peace.